Hello and welcome to another episode of the Balls Deep podcast. Today is going to be a bit of a different episode format. One of the main reasons is that my co-host, Tactical Potato, is not going to be joining us for the next few episodes due to some real life commitments. So instead, you're going to be able to hear my voice and you're going to be able to hear some of my guests that we're going to be joining. Speaking of which, we have a new guest joining us today, Suggestive. Hello, Suggestive.
Hello there.
How are you doing today? Oh my god, I'm just thinking of the Star Wars memes now because of that. That's all I'm thinking of now.
Am I an unexpected surprise but a welcome one? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. Well, the thing is, I guess we might as well talk about introductions because the first time I really met you was on John's stream. I think when he was on Voice and everything else as well. And I think it was you, Phil, Mac, and a few other people who were playing while he was streaming Warframe. Because when John started streaming, he was basically just playing Warframe. So that's how I actually came across you for the first time as well. So how did you end up meeting John in the first place?
Oh man, so it's quite a long story actually. I was introduced to Warframe from two of my friends actually from another chat long ago.
Right.
And at one stage I was like, my setup sucks. I'm not doing any damage. I need to find out how to improve things.
Right.
And then I found his videos, I found your videos, I've discovered a whole bunch of content creators, and I stole your builds, basically.
Well, I guess that's what the builds were for, so people could make use of them as well. So yeah, that makes sense.
Indeed. And then I somehow ended up on his stream. I think it was when Lunaro was actually released.
Oh, poor you.
Jumped into chat. Come on. Lunaro was kind of fun.
You know what? I think Lunaro had a lot of potential because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh boy, Rocket League in Warframe. This sounds really, really fun. But in actuality, when he actually played, it tends to have a lot of... It has the issue of lag, for example, input lag, and then obviously actual lag as well, depending on where the host is and all that kind of stuff. So I guess the execution wasn't as nice as I was hoping it to be. But yeah, it's all right. It's not too bad.
I'm just trying to remember how long ago that was. Was it 3 years, 4 years?
Honestly, God, I genuinely can't remember. I gotta Google that now.
Please let me know what you find.
So, by the looks of it...
It looks like 2016.
Yeah, June 2016. Oh my God. Been that long.
Yeah, it's kind of scary now I think about it.
Yeah, I guess that is something that a lot of people, it ends up happening with a lot of people who are coming in to play Warframe for the first time, because I remember when the game was first released and 4 years, 5 years back, I guess even up to 2 years back, the new user experience wasn't exactly the best because it didn't give you all the information that you needed to kind of progress, or rather you do the new user storyline stuff and then you'll be like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing because I don't know how my builds work, I don't know how damage works, how resistances work, this and that. So I might as well watch a video, or I might as well watch a guide or something else like that, which is why I guess there was also this era where a lot of content creators were basically pumping out videos of builds and stuff like that as well, and then people were able to use those and then kind of figure out how to do builds.
Yeah, it's really interesting, though, to see how the dynamic seems to have changed over the years. Like you said, a lot of videos back in the past were about builds, etc., but now it's more a discussion about the game itself and processes and just general things like that. It's quite fascinating when I think about how that's changed. Very interesting, too.
Yeah. So,
I still kind of steal your builds, though.
You know what? I steal other people's builds now. With how I do my min-maxing and all that kind of stuff, I don't do it like that anymore, because I think when you've played Warframe, or any game for that matter, I suppose, when you've played it for 7-8 years and I've got over 15,000 hours in Warframe, so I'm just I don't do the min-maxing anymore. I don't do the endurance runs anymore. I don't do any of that. So there's no need for me to make builds that do that kind of stuff anymore. So I'm like, does this basic build work? It does. Okay, let's take this into an hour survival and then I'm good to go. And I think that perspective shift also kind of changes how your play style is and all that kind of stuff as well. I'm pretty sure, like, for the most part, people play Warframe fairly casually. There is like the min-maxes and all that, but for the most part, people play it very casually. So that works out for everyone else as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there will always be a group of elitist gatekeepers, for lack of a better phrase.
Yes.
But on the whole, I've found the community to be quite welcoming.
Yes.
Everyone's ready to help out and explain what format is, which is something that I had trouble with in the past.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's another thing as well, which you mentioned is, actually, you know what? We'll get into that topic specifically in a bit, but let's just talk about EGX. I think we met, so I think it was EGX 2018 when I finally convinced Dimitri and John to come to EGX, hang out at a convention. And then, you know, I think we all used that as an excuse to meet people from our community as well. And you joined us for that one as well, because I basically ended up sorting out a room for like 6 of us, because it worked out cheaper that way, as opposed to just booking for 2 people and all that kind of stuff. So it was you, me, John, Dave, Dimitri, and one of our other friends, Salty from America as well. So it was like basically a 3-3 split of the room as well. And that was actually the first time I met you guys all physically. And that was a pretty fun experience as well.
yes, I remember it very, very well.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite moments from that, and I know we're going off topic here, but that one night where we all just ate chicken in our rooms.
Oh yeah. So basically, for the people who don't know, I've mentioned this on stream, but every time I've gone to EGX, me, a friend of mine, Glippy, and a couple of other people, we've always done this thing where we end up ordering chicken from a place called Dixie Chicken, and we ended up ordering way too much chicken, sitting in our hotel rooms, absolutely knackered after walking all day, and we just sit there eating like this family bucket of chicken while watching Jeremy Kyle. That's how tired we were. So that's all we did. And we basically named it the Filthy Chicken Gang. Realistically, you know, getting something from Dixie Chicken was really, really filthy. It was nice food, but it was just, you felt dirty afterwards because of how much chicken you ate and everything else. So that's what we ended up doing as well, is like we ordered that. And then I was like, you guys got to do that. You guys got to do that. Convinced everyone. And then we ended up doing that as well. Yeah.
For sure. But it was a really, really great experience finally getting to meet everyone face to face, because it's always good to put a face to the name. It was quite strange, though, people referring to me as Suggestive rather than Nikki. So it took a while to get used to that.
Okay, so when you meet people, and obviously in John's case, like we know him on a first name basis and everything else as well, and there are a few other people on Discord who we do know on a name, like on a first name basis, but for the most part online we just use like, well, the online name. In Dave's case, for example, he's literally called Dave in Warframe, and he's called Dave on Discord and everything else. He's about as Dave gets.
Dave has the Dave brand now.
Yeah, exactly. For myself, like, I don't necessarily hide my name. You know, like, for example, with content creators, a lot of them, they don't really like having their name out. But for me, like, I've never really been one of those kind of people who's kind of hidden his name. I just don't use it on, like, as a primary thing, because I find a lot of people struggle to say my name, even though it's literally 2 syllables. But sometimes people tend to really struggle with it. So I'm like, okay, you know what? You might as well just call me Frozen or Frozenballz if that's easier for you. But then for the people who do know my name, Grijeev, that's how they just say it. And then they'll call me by that. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You can call me by a name if you know how to say it. You know, that doesn't bother me at all. But I guess it's also that whole concept of we've known you online. We've known each other online, and we call ourselves by our online name. So I guess it's just that familiarity that we kind of bring to real life as well.
I think the other thing as well is that your online name and your real life, for lack of a better phrase, there's kind of a barrier there between the online persona and the actual face-to-face persona. That's the way I see it anyway.
Yeah.
Because my day-to-day life is very, very different from my online life. So
yeah,
when people call me Nikki online, it kind of makes me feel a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Like they know too much.
I think that would also be, like, you know what? That actually makes sense, because especially taking into consideration game development and how crazy some people can be, especially when they start finding out some more personal information or just knowing someone's name, you know, especially if they haven't really made it like commonly known or made it like as part of the thing. Like I'll give you as an example, DE, right? Like some people have their, you know, surnames out there as well. Those people who have their full names out, case in point Rebecca, they have to keep their lives very private and they have to be extra vigilant in terms of keeping their private lives very separate from like their online persona and the game development persona and the community management side of things because of how crazy people get. So I'm assuming it must be a little bit of a thing for you as well to kind of keep that sort of security in the back of your mind, or even just in general because it's like your company policy as well, just to keep you guys safe from absolute bonkers people online.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would actually consider community management more high risk than what I do, but at the end of it, I'm still player facing.
Yeah.
And in the past, there have been people saying, I know who you are, I
Yeah.
know where you live. And it just, whenever someone's in a position where they can tell players, no, you cannot have this,
Yeah.
I would say people are more likely to try and find out who that person is. It's a very, very scary position sometimes.
Yeah. So actually leading into that, since we haven't actually mentioned this, what I already know what you do, but we might as well mention it for the stream. Sorry, for the podcast. What exactly do you do, Suggestive, for work?
What a good question. So I'm a lead customer support for a company called Behaviour. So I'm overseeing a couple of projects. The main ones being Dead by Daylight and Dead by Daylight Mobile, but there's a couple of others that I watch as well.
Lovely. Again, I think it makes it a little bit easier for people to understand now, I guess, that when you realize that she's doing when Suggestive is doing community support lead, you can see how this kind of ties into the whole dealing with people, dealing with players, and dealing with their different problems that they may potentially have when they're playing the game or any of that kind of stuff. So what exactly would a community support lead be doing, I guess, from a day-to-day basis then? So
for me, I do try and do as many tickets as I possibly can using Zendesk, and then we also have HelpShift for mobile as well. So it requires me having detailed game knowledge about all these projects that I oversee. But I'm leading a team of 17 agents right now, as well as a smaller team of 4 who oversee game bans, ban appeals, etc., etc. So for me, there's a lot of people skills involved, and I get to look at stats like all day, which is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I love a good spreadsheet.
See, you and Dave would probably be best friends as well, considering how much he's obsessed with spreadsheets as well.
Sometimes I do actually show Dave some of the spreadsheets that I'm having to work. So yeah. But the majority of my time is probably spent in meetings. So production meetings, live issues, and just things that oversee the basic running of the game and how it's going.
Right, okay. See, I can believe that as well, because I remember like when John's streaming or we're on voice or whatever else and you sometimes hop in, someone asks you what you're doing, you're like, oh, I'm working. I think that's been your go-to response more often than not. I'm like, when does she get a chance to play games? I'm actually curious. I guess that would probably also be one of the more reasons why you kind of play games like Animal Crossing as well, because it must be how easy it is to just kind of pick up, do a little bit of farming, collect some bugs, you know, farm some turnips or something, and then kind of put it down. So that way it doesn't really disrupt your flow of gameplay, I suppose.
You're absolutely right. Because of the fact that I do... I try to match my working times to EST just to make things more convenient for myself and for work. By the time I finish my day, I don't want to play anything. And even when it gets weekend, I'm finding myself lately just looking at my list of Steam games and looking at my Switch games. And like, I don't want to do any of this. I would like to lie down, please.
Yeah, I can understand that. You know what? I guess it's a little bit similar for me in the sense that there are days I don't really want to play games. I don't really want to stream games, so to speak. And it's hard because streaming for the most part has been about gaming for so long, right? And it's only until I guess the past couple of years where Twitch has been like, okay, you've got different categories. You can do just chatting. You can eat on stream and people can watch you eat on stream. Apparently that's a kink, but we don't shame.
Oh no.
Then, there's like body painting, normal painting, 3D modeling, music production, all that kind of stuff. So basically Twitch lets you do all of that. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have a day where we just watch YouTube videos, chat shit, and build Lego. And that's usually what I actually started doing. So
You've got Lego?
I do. So for my birthday, one of my viewers gifted me the Lego Technic set for the 1989 edition, like limited edition Batmobile.
Oh my god, mate, I am so jealous right now.
I'll show you a picture of it later on.
Yes!
Then he also gave me, like not him, another person gave me the Bugatti Chiron, which is a massive fucking Technic car. It's basically the size of a full-size keyboard. That's how big that car is.
Nice.
But the problem is Suggestive. I started building it on stream. I got halfway through the build, and when I was supposed to connect part 1 into part 2, I realized that I put one Lego piece in the wrong place at the start of the build. So I have to literally break it all down and rebuild it all, and it hurts my soul because I don't want to do it again.
Did you actually break it down on stream as well?
I haven't done it yet. It just demotivated me, so I haven't done that yet. But I'm going to be doing that soon. I guess with the whole lockdown situation being a thing, I guess I could do that as well. Speaking of the lockdown, how's everything going on your end with the COVID, having the country completely shut down, so to speak?
Honestly, it hasn't affected me a great deal. I've always worked from home, so it's business as usual for me. But I know it's harder for a lot of the other teams, like QA especially, and other sides of production. They're having some trouble. But despite all of that, we've still managed to release Dead by Daylight on mobile completely worldwide. And I know we've pushed what's called the mid-chapter patch on core platforms.
What's that?
So it's just mainly bug fixing and balancing changes.
Right, okay.
So yeah, despite all of that, we're still able to work pretty much exactly how we did before. The main difference is I live above a pub. And the pub is now closed, of course. So everything is so quiet.
Yeah.
And I can't go downstairs for a drink anymore.
Yeah. Must be definitely hard a little bit as well, especially when you're like, oh, I fancy a quick pint or I fancy a wine or whatever else like that. But now you can't do that. Yeah.
It's genuinely upsetting. The other thing which I'm finding quite strange as well is the amount of meetings that I'm in has like dramatically increased. Suddenly everyone is talking to each other over Microsoft Teams, and it's very, very strange to see someone's face but only the chin, because some people don't know how their cameras work. So you'll just see someone's beard or just...
Oh, God.
In my case, it's the cat. Like the cat will jump on my lap and shove his face into the camera. So...
Oh, wow. So I'm assuming like you're in this call with all the webcam on and everyone just sees this cat jumping onto the table and he's just like looking at the camera. I can just imagine those, like those pictures you see online of a cat that's basically right into the lens and the camera just ends up going fish-eyed over the face of the cat. That's all I can imagine.
It's either that or his backside. Which,
yes, of course.
But that's probably why you can hear a bell in the background, so I'm really sorry. But he's currently playing. So
So, on the topic of cats, mostly because I really, really like pets in general. I've always been a bit of a dog person, but I have warmed up to the idea of a cat, mostly because my cousins got a cat. I think this was about 3 years back, or maybe, actually it might be even 4 years. And when I went to live with them for like a weekend, just to kind of chill with them and, spend time with them, because I didn't really get a chance to meet him that often. That's when I met his kittens, and they were absolutely adorable, very friendly, very playful and everything. And that was the day when I kind of warmed up to cats more than anything else as well. How long have you had your cat?
So it's probably been about 3 years now. His birthday is very, very soon. So I need to get him some presents.
What's your cat called, though?
So his original name is Shadow because he was originally my brother's cat and he was given to me. But I just call him the Void because he's just this fully black cat, and my settee is black. So there has been moments where I've almost sat on him.
Oh no.
because I just can't see him. My eyes
Yeah.
are really bad.
So do you have to kind of like scan the chair, the couch before you sit down every time now, just in case he's there?
Yeah, absolutely. Or I'll just like scrabble around with my hands, and if it
Yeah.
hits him, it's like, yes, he's here. I mean, dogs are okay as well, but I've got a bit of a fear of dogs, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I like looking at them from far away.
Well, that's why I send you pictures of them on Discord, from time to time. And that's why I've
I
got that
love
channel.
It's best channel. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, I've said this multiple times before. I genuinely think that is literally the best thing that has come out of my Discord. Everything else is just shit posting or trolling or whatever else as well. But that particular chapter or that particular section of my Discord is the only good thing that has come out of my Discord. And I love it.
Well, it's good to know you're happy with that then.
Yeah. If there's anything I'm happy about on my Discord, it's that channel. I love it. Every single day, someone posts something from Imgur, or we have people who, so Ira, one of the people who looks after dogs or walks them and everything else as well, her brother has a Alaskan Malamute, and she posts pictures of him every single day, whether he's under the couch, whether he's under the bed, whether he's running around or whatever else. So we've seen pictures of him literally growing up in that channel, from when they brought him for the first time when he was, I think, like 6 weeks, 7 weeks old, to the size he is now. And he's a big dog, because Alaskan Malamutes are big dogs. And you just see this big dog acting like a puppy, and is the most glorious thing ever.
I love it. I mean, they're forever puppies, to be honest.
Yeah, they are.
But is that Vulcan? Am I remembering that correct?
Yes, that is Vulcan.
Great name. I can't believe I'm talking about cats. I know.
we really gone off topic with this, but it's okay. Coming back to our conversation about your job and everything else as well. So I'm assuming you basically do all of your work from home then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some moments where I'm lucky enough to actually head over to Montreal, which is where everyone's based.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority is done right at home.
How does this affect, like, I guess, your work and life balance? Because when you're working from home like that, and this is something which I've noticed as well, is because I'm streaming, and that's now a point where it's actually like my job, sometimes finding that balance can be really, really difficult. So how has it affected you, I suppose?
So I mentioned earlier I match EST time zone. That means I'm often starting work at 2 p.m., for example. Depending on what's going on, I won't finish until midnight or later in some extreme cases. So I find it really, really hard to just disconnect from work and go to bed. The other thing as well is the fact that my computer is in the same room as my living room. So I don't have that solid wall to divide work from play. The other thing which is kind of depressing is because I finish so late, I don't really get that much social time. So I'll see my friends asking, do you fancy going out on Friday night? And I'm like, nah, I can't. Sorry, can't. So it has led to quite a hermit-like existence.
Yeah.
But I think I'm dealing with it. Of course, there's going to be moments where I'm depressed a little bit, but on the whole, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, especially when you see, like, your friends posting pictures on social media and saying, oh, look, we went out on Friday night, Saturday night, we had a great time, this and that. And you're just thinking to yourself, because this has happened to me as well. I'm just like, I wish I was there, man. I could have had a really, really good time, but I had to go to bed because I got work in the morning. And for me, like, I've got Sainsbury's, which starts at, like, normally it starts at 4 o'clock. That means I'm up by about 3:30. Actually, my first alarm goes off at 2:15. The second one goes off at 2:45. And then the third one goes off at 3:15. Which is basically Samuel L. Jackson yelling at me because it's the quote from Pulp Fiction when he's about to shoot the guy with a big 50 cal handgun. So
that's pretty extreme. That's
yeah. Because I like sleeping, and to wake up, I need like multiple alarms to kind of slowly nudge me out of sleep, and then be like, "Get the fuck up, or you're gonna get shot by Samuel L. Jackson." Basically, it's like that kind of thing. And because I'm waking up that early, and then that basically also means my day-night cycle starts early and ends early as well. So I'm usually in bed by like 8, maybe 9 o'clock. And then I'm one of my friends from university, for example, he finishes work at 7 p.m. So by the time he gets back home, unless we have a day free, both of us have the day free, it's very rare that we can meet up and do things and all that kind of stuff as well. Obviously, I have some colleagues from work as well who I'll go out with. And luckily for us, weekend, like Saturday is always free. So we can always do something on a Saturday. So that's kind of nice. But even then, like, I'm like, I can't always do something on a Saturday because I've got work coming up or I've got something else planned for the day. It does get a little bit hard and it does get a little bit depressing, as you said, because you're like, there's so much I want to do, but I just can't because I can't find the time for it. And work obviously is a priority. I can't just ditch work just to go out. You know what I mean?
I mean, you do different rotas as well, don't you? So for you, every day can be different, or every week can be different for you, isn't it?
I was lucky. I actually have a set schedule, and that does not change. So I normally start work at 4 o'clock, and then like that's it. That's never changed. It's only because of the recent COVID stuff happening that my shift has basically starting an hour early now, and that was okay. Technically, they wanted me to start at like 2 o'clock in the morning, but I was like, I can't do it. If I do something like that, then it messes with my other schedule, with my stream, and other balance that I have for work and everything else. And I was like, I can't do that. So I don't shift it around too much. But there are people at work who have like a bi-weekly rota as well. And I feel bad for them because it can really mess up your body clock as well, because you're waking up at the time when you should be going into REM sleep and all that, but you're waking up to go to work. And it's the most frustrating thing as well, I suppose. And especially if you've got kids, you're going to bed before your kids do. And that's a bit of a sad thing, so to speak.
You've made me think now about the fact that the rest of my team are working from home, and some of them do have kids. And I can't imagine the logistics of what goes into looking after kids and doing work at the same time.
I mean, we were talking about this when I did the podcast with Scott, because I think Scott is the same as John. Both of them have, I think, 4 kids each. And Scott basically mentioned that, his wife was looking after the kids while he was working. And John mentioned the same thing, like when he's streaming or when he's doing his YouTube stuff during the day, his wife is looking after the kids or homeschooling them and all that kind of stuff. And it is a lot of work, especially now that the country is on lockdown and everything else and people are stuck at home, school is shut. All the parents are now doing all the work that they have to do to homeschool them. Even my sister, like, she's in Canada, right? She was saying this the other day. She's got 2 kids, and don't get me wrong, they're lovely, but the younger one can be a handful sometimes. And she has to obviously do all the housework, and she's also doing their education and all that kind of stuff as well. So it can pile on. You don't have any kids, do you, Suggestive?
Oh, goodness, no.
You said that way too quick.
No, I think I'm too career orientated to think of kids, which is kind of selfish of me, but I like money.
I think everyone does. Is this something which you would consider at any given time, or is that basically an afterthought for you for now?
Honestly, it doesn't come in my thoughts at all at the moment. Maybe if something happens in the future, but I have no intentions right now. As I said, I'm too focused on my career, I think.
Yeah. So obviously with everyone working from home because of the whole COVID situation, like you said, you have been working from home anyway, so it hasn't really affected as much. How has that affected your, I guess, workload, so to speak? Because as I'm sure you've seen enough reports of people basically being at home, so a lot more people have started playing, a lot more people have started streaming games, a lot more people have started, basically all things related to gaming, really. So how has that affected you and the people who you work with? I guess, how has it affected your workload, so to speak?
So the workload has increased dramatically. I believe that Dead by Daylight Encore has broken its previous record for CCU, which is current users, basically.
Yeah.
Of course, with more players, it means that we're going to get more tickets. On average, we used to take about 2,500 tickets a week. That has increased to 3,500. And that's just on core. On mobile, I'm still trying to get the stats, but I believe it's another like 3,000. On the mobile side of things, there's a lot of active users, but the contact rate is about 3 or 4%. So that's like 10,000 tickets, roughly, per month.
Right.
But thankfully, a lot of the mobile tickets are dealt with automatically. So there'll be a bot giving responses to the most common questions.
Yeah.
And that at the moment I can see there's 20,000 tickets in that system at the moment. So hopefully they don't all come through to my agents, but the
Yeah.
fact that it's there is quite surreal. What we had to do is take on 3 new agents specifically for mobile and another 2 agents for core. So, like I said, that means I've now got 17 people working with me, and I would be well and truly lost without them. They are probably the most important people I've got. It adds a lot of stress as well
Yeah.
because we have an agreed SLA, service level agreement,
Right.
and we try to answer all of these tickets within 24 hours. But with these sort of ticket numbers, it's simply not possible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Of course.
it causes a lot of stress, a lot of anger from the community because they believe they're the most important person. They need everything done now, 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 now.
Yeah.
And it leads to a lot of complaints on social media as well. So some people will choose to go on Twitter or Facebook, for example, saying, your support sucks. They haven't responded to me. And there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that players understand just how queues work and how support works. Now, I know community management, most people know what community management is, and they know the community managers, but customer support is often looked down upon, I feel.
They are 100% looked down upon.
Like you probably understand it as well, since you work in retail, and you'll often see people, like I said, looking down on you, and it's really unfair, I believe. I think that a spotlight should be given to a lot of customer support, and it's not just with our company, it's with every game company, it's with every retail outlet.
Yeah.
You need to show support for those people. And that's what I try to do with my team. I try and big them up as much as I can.
That's good. And you know what? I can believe that because I've seen you do it on Twitter. I've seen you do it in general. And even when you mentioned your team, hell, you even did it when we were at EGX. You were talking about your team members over there as well. And I think when you have someone who's, like, for example, in your position, like the community support lead, and you are that integrated with your team and you have that right sort of healthy relationship with your team as well, it results in a better workforce. It results in a better motivation to keep doing the work that you're doing, despite all the problems, despite having to deal with I guess sometimes the best way to describe it is a toxic work environment because of the people who respond to tickets saying, respond to it now, why aren't you responding? And then give you a hail of abuse as well. Because that's the other thing which I've seen, not just with like I've seen it with Warframe. I've seen it with, there was another game I was playing a while back, Firefall. I saw it with Firefall. I saw it with a couple of other games where people just gave so much abuse to the developers or the community support, or just saying your support tickets haven't been answered, this and that. Like, you're mentioning that you have an SLA of 24 hours, and obviously with the whole COVID thing and in general, sometimes it's just not possible to answer those questions. I'm just thinking about when I had this conversation with someone at DE when I went to Tenacon a couple of years back, and they worked in customer support for Warframe, and they basically said that, you know what, we try to answer tickets, but sometimes it's just not possible to answer all the questions because of how many people play Warframe and how many tickets come in. I think they were saying something like they had at that particular time, they had a backlog of over a month and a half of tickets. That's how many tickets they had to go through and everything. And that's mental, that's just so much.
Indeed. Like, was it 3 million at least that Warframe has?
Yeah.
In terms of users. So yeah, I can't possibly imagine having to cope with all of that. And I can imagine other large companies as well, so Ubisoft, EA, etc. We're all in the same boat. We're all trying to pull in the same direction. Mobile, though, I found there's a completely different breed of user. It's quite shocking the amount of abuse that comes through on the mobile channel.
Right.
Thankfully, the core seems to be a little more understanding. It's not all doom and gloom. You will get the occasional message saying, hey, I know this isn't a question. I'm sorry if you think this is a waste of time, but thank you. And that makes it worth it, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Just through the flood of it's like Andy Dufresne from the final scene in Shawshank Redemption, isn't it? Where he crawled through 500 yards of shit smelling whatever it is to come clean on the other side. I suppose it's kind of like that. You're kind of trawling through all of the kind of negativity and all the toxicity, and then you get some positive comments like that, or just words of encouragement, and it gives you that confidence, it gives you that motivation, and it keeps you wanting to keep do it because you know there are people who appreciate all the work and hard work and everything else that you are doing for the company and what you're doing in your current position as community support, for example, as well.
That's a really good analogy. I quite like
Yeah.
that.
What can I say, man? I like my movies.
I would still say that community management have a worse deal because they get their faces out there.
Yeah.
I'm quite lucky that I'm just behind a screen. So yeah, I think community managers have it worse, but customer support does struggle as well. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think like the production side of things fail to recognize. And I would really like to see that change.
Well, shout out to everyone, especially who works in customer support. You know, as someone who's done game development, and I've seen like how game development has kind of evolved and how big and complex making a game actually is. I've always said this before as well, and like when we've had conversations about this on my stream, that community management is one aspect that takes a lot of, you know, abuse from people, but there is also the customer community support, especially people who deal with all the tickets and everything else. You know, they are, I suppose, for lack of a better word, the unsung heroes who don't get as much recognition despite all the work that they put in as well. So, you know, shout out to all of you people for doing what you guys do and keeping all these companies working as well. Because again, if you didn't answer those questions and deal with the support tickets, you know, that is one very strong pillar. If that was to crumble, that would have a lot of issues for the game company overall.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I said earlier, we are public facing, so we represent the company in a way.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous sometimes.
I think you're doing a fantastic job. I haven't really heard any complaints from most people for the most part. Obviously, you'll still find some people who like complaining about things, but that's just gamers in general. They're always moany little gits. You know what I mean?
Can't say that.
I can say that. It's fine. I come under the same group of people. I moan all the time.
Oh man. Yeah, some of the stories I'm hearing from retail friends is quite shocking as well. I don't think I could go back to a retail environment.
I think for me, it's kind of easier because I don't really work proper retail. I'm in the online department, so I don't see any customers. So I'm kind of lucky in that regard. But yeah, I couldn't deal with retail. I know myself, if I end up having to deal with like an abusive customer or something, I'd probably end up swearing them back out. I'd probably lose a job. I'll probably just swear at them back in something. You know, it's just, I wouldn't have the patience to deal with someone like that. But yeah.
It amazes me that people do.
I guess ultimately it's the fact that, you know what, if they do that, if they swear at someone or get angry or whatever else, they potentially lose their job and that's their income gone, and then they have to do the whole job searching and everything else. I guess that kind of at the back of their mind also does kind of help them keep their calm.
I think something else that I find kind of irritating is the whole mindset about the customer is always right. I do not like that way of thinking. Sometimes, no, the customer is absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And they should be told that. They should not have any sort of platitudes that normally come from managers and whatnot saying, oh, okay, we'll give you some money back. Don't worry about it. Just go away. I disagree completely. And it's going back to what we've covered, where people should be treated with respect.
Yeah.
If one of my agents has said something and it's a fact, I'm going to back them up. I'm going to say, yeah, you have done the right thing.
Yeah.
Don't change how you want to resolve this ticket just because someone's angry. It might mean negative feedback, but you're still getting that loyalty from your team. And as you said earlier, the team morale and team motivation is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense. I've rambled on a bit there.
It does. No, it does. It does. I was just thinking about the actual topic itself in general, like community management and community support. Like it's like, I'm just going back to what I said earlier on. Like the games industry has evolved so much over the past, I don't know, say 10, 20 years or whatever else like that. You had games like Pong, and then you had Golden Axe, then you had your NES, then you had your SNES, and then PS4, well, PS1. And Xboxes and then PC gaming and all that. And then you think about all these games and how they've evolved. I mean, you had your side-scrolling Mario, which had, you know, whatever else development system that it had. So you had like the game design elements of it. Then you had the programming side of it. Then you had like the artwork side of it. And I guess because of the kind of game it wasn't that complex. It didn't need as much, but for the time of when it came out, it was still a pretty complex game. And then you see that these games have evolved over time, and you've got different divisions of within the games company. Like you've got the art, then you've got the programming team, then you've got the design team, sound team, weapons team. community management, community support, and everything in between. It's just kind of crazy to think about how big the games industry has gotten at this point in this day and age as well, and how complex everyone's role is. Like, you are covering such a big facet of the game, but even then, it's only one facet of the game. There is just so much more that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it relies on all of those people working together.
Yeah.
For me, I think things really exploded when the whole concept of games as a service came into effect. Because the main thing with games as a service is there's a thing called retention, basically.
Yes.
You want to keep those people in a game, you need to keep them going and buying stuff, etc., etc. Like even Warframe, they rely a lot on like platinum purchases, etc. In terms of our games, we rely on cosmetics to keep things going. But the support side there and the community management sides, they're incredibly important with that retention, because if you give someone bad news or you say no, you might lose that player.
Yeah.
But you just have to deal with it. If your agent is giving the right answer, even if you lose someone, sometimes it's a good thing, because you don't want that sort of toxicity in your game.
I love that you said that, because that is a mentality that I 100% agree with and share. And I actually have that particular mentality for my stream as well. I have had people who have come in who were part of the community, and then once they established themselves or they donated or they subbed or whatever else, they feel like they're entitled, that they can say whatever they want or throw whatever abuse that they can. And I turn around and ban them. And then they had a go at me, but they made, like, there's this one person, he made an alt character account on Twitch, and he came and he goes, yo, I subbed you and I gifted so many subs and I gave you like, you know, £200 in donations, this and that. How can you just ban me? I was like, look, you've seen the rules, you've seen how the Discord functions, you've been in my community for over a month. You of all people should know better to be saying the shit that you are. Like, I can take a lot of, you know, stuff, but sometimes you just it can pile on. And if you catch me in a bad day, I'm not gonna be giving you a second chance. I'm just gonna ban you. Like, I've banned people. Like, I had you know, when the Warframe PoE update dropped, you know, in how John's chat, everyone was basically typing ! drops or ! glyph or whatever else.
Oh god.
I saw that happen in Flynn's stream before I even started the stream, so I basically set it up where if anyone types ! drops, they get permanently banned from the channel. So the bot would do all the heavy lifting for me. I wouldn't even see the message, they just get banned. And I would just see random messages from time to time in my chat. User has been banned. User has been banned. User has been banned. Just because that's all I saw. I didn't even see that message. I was like, someone's been using that command. And you know what? Sometimes I felt that me being this heavy-handed had a negative effect on my community. And that's just something which I always thought that maybe, you know, because of me being this heavy-handed or less tolerant of people like that, basically means my community isn't going to grow as much. But you know what? Overall, my mental health has been a lot better. I don't deal with abuse. I don't have a community that is toxic for the most part. There are some people who can be sometimes, but I tell them to shut up, and they do. But I think that's just part of gaming in general. That sort of toxicity doesn't really leave. Everyone has it to an extent, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I know that not a lot of people would actually agree with what we're both saying here. That's just the way that I feel. And obviously my opinion doesn't reflect the opinion of people I work for.
Yeah.
I have to make that clear. But yeah, I completely agree. I'll do anything for my team. And something that kind of links on is the fact that we're kind of well known for being quite heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to harassment, which I think is a major thing in games as a service.
Yes.
Like you said, people feel entitled to be able to say whatever they want. No, that's not acceptable. Like, if you're threatening someone saying, I'm going to kill you in real life, it's like, nope, get out of the game. You're not welcome here. And I do wish that it was a more widespread policy.
Have you actually ever had to deal with someone like that?
Yeah, actually. I was doxxed on one occasion, which was quite scary, but we managed to shut them down quite quickly with some legal stuff that I can't go into.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, the community managers have had that as well. A few support guys have had it. again, going back to mobile users, they seem very, very quick to go into threats, but it happens a lot on core as well. And I do not understand why it is. Why would someone say that? It's something that confuses me a great deal.
I guess it's a little, well, not in this particular situation, because you know the person, because if they made any sort of purchase, then you know their name and you know like all their details to an extent, I suppose. But I guess for the most part, when people act like that, especially online, it's the anonymity of it, you know? Like you look at YouTube comments sometimes and you just see the absolute toxicity in that and the kind of stuff that people sometimes say there. And why do they say that? Because they know that they can get away with it because they're anonymous online for the most part. No one's going to be searching for, I don't know, Anime Watcher 999. No one's going to be looking at someone like that online and be like, oh yeah, I know him. He's Craig from work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess because of that, they feel like they've got that bit of a shield to kind of get away with and say what they want and not have any repercussions for it. But then, of course, there are some people who do take it a bit too far as well, so...
Yeah, like some people genuinely disturb me, I won't lie.
Yeah.
Normally, you know, you get the average insult, the little baby threats, etc. But every now and again, there'll be one person that says something horrific, and because I find it hard to disconnect from work, those thoughts will stick with me for like days, and I find that really difficult to get over. But you know, you got to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. So going back to EGX. When you came to EGX, I remember we were having this conversation about it, and you said that you were going to split off from the group for a little bit because you wanted to go meet some people who were doing like Dead by Daylight cosplays and stuff like that. Do you get to do that on a regular basis, where you get to meet people from the community, whether it's streamers or YouTubers or other content creators or cosplayers and all that?
Unfortunately, no. I don't get to do that. It's mainly a community manager thing.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to go to PAX East. I think that was 2017 or 2018. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that was just absolutely incredible. The amount of people there, the amount of love for the game was just absolutely outstanding. So again, seeing that positive side of the community makes everything worth it.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what happens at work, just seeing that was just great. There might be a chance for me to go to EGX again. There might be a chance for me to go to Gamescom because I'm one of the Europe people.
Yeah.
But officially, no, I don't really get to do that.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of hoping this year that I'd go to EGX, but then the world decided to be on fire, so there's that.
Oh, yeah.
It was funny. At the start of the year, I was talking to people on the stream. I was like, oh, look at me. I'm planning to go to Canada for TennoCon and meet my family again. Oh, I'd like to do a Euro trip this year. No, that's not happening anymore. The world's basically shut down, so I can't do any of that.
Fun is cancelled.
Yeah, basically. I guess next year, and we can see how that goes.
Yeah, I really hope so, because I had a great time like hanging out with you guys at EGX. Yeah. It was such fun.
Well, I've only got one more question left for you. And this is a question that I've basically been asking every single person on my stream. And I've also been asking this people at work. And I've also been asking this to other people who've joined on the podcast. And that question is, if you could choose one superpower to live with for the rest of time, what would you choose and why?
That is a good question. I would like the power to reach into a monitor and slap the person at the other end. Or give them a piece of chocolate, you know, if they're being nice. It's like, oh, thank you. That's really cool. I really appreciate it. Other people just a slap to the face. That'd be great. The reason why I want to do that is because some people do need some sense talked into them.
Yes, I agree.
And some people need that positive reinforcement as well. So it's a win-win for me.
Well, it depends. What chocolate are you offering them, though?
Oh, well, I really like Lindt chocolate.
Okay, you know what? Your ace is in my book. We are sorted. This chapter can be shut right down. Lindt is one of the best chocolates out there. Anyone who disagrees, doesn't matter. Your opinion does not matter. Lindt is all good.
Hell yeah. I bought so many of those chocolate bunnies. Like,
you know what?
my favorite.
I did the same. like they went on sale because no one bought them because they couldn't come into work. I picked up like 20 of those chocolate bunnies. They're normally like £5 or whatever else, but they were on sale for like £1 each. So I picked up like 20 of those. £20 worth of bunnies. I picked them up. And then they're still sitting, like some of them are in the fridge. The rest of them are just sitting outside, or I've given them some to family members and all that kind of stuff. Because all the other chocolate eggs were gone. So I was like, all right, bunny time.
I love it. I like Milka, though, as well. Have you tried Milka?
I have, but I tried that ages ago. I haven't actually had it recently, so I can't remember the taste for it.
I'll have to send you some sometime when I next go home.
Right, okay. The funny thing is, I actually made one of my friends very, very paranoid. So Sayu from my stream, he actually has 2 rabbits, and I was talking on stream, and I basically said, all right, chat, I'm gonna break this bunny's neck real quick and eat the ears real quick. And I didn't give them any context. I was talking about the chocolate bunny. And he started panic typing in chat. He goes, hold up, what do you mean rabbit? What are you doing to that rabbit? Don't break his neck. And then I just showed this chocolate bunny on stream on the webcam, and he goes, oh, you bastard.
I've got a story that kind of links that, actually. When I was a kid, like my pappy and my mammy, they used to own like a whole bunch of rabbits.
Yeah.
And I thought they were really cute. So, of course, I gave them names like Flopsy, Mitzi, typical rabbit names. And I remember this one day, we were having a big dinner, some sort of celebration, and we had rabbit stew.
Oh, no.
And my pappy said, that's Flopsy you're eating there. And I cried.
No.
I cried for hours.
Oh, no. That's the worst.
So, yeah, I didn't realise that meat comes from animals, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think that should be a wrap for the episode. Suggestive, seriously, thank you very much for joining and giving us a little bit of insight into what you do in terms of your community support work and everything else. And again, a shout out to everyone who works that particular role in whatever company that you do. You guys are the MVP. Literally heavy lifting and support pillars of so many games companies around the world. Do you have any final words that you would like to leave us with? Any words of wisdom or anything else like that?
Just be nice to whoever you encounter, whether it be someone in service, someone in retail, or even just your neighbour. Don't be a dick. Like, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. You can swear. John swears all the time. Also, you know what? I agree that for the most part, but that last part about the neighbors, no. I've got one neighbor. I've got one neighbor who deals with cars. He's a lovely guy, by the way, but he has this one little shipmobile, it's like a mini Vespa, and whenever I'm streaming, especially on a summer day, he's out there revving that engine for 15 minutes before he drives it up and down the road, and then he parks it and goes back inside. It's the worst thing, because if I leave my window open, all you hear is that's all you hear.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Be nice to people who aren't overly noisy.
Yeah. Oh shit. I'm a little bit fucked in that case, Suggestive.
Yeah, but at least you're entertaining.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about, when I went to Canada a couple of years back, I went for like a whole month because I spent time with my sister and everything. That same neighbor who I was talking about, he basically came up to my mom and he goes to my mom, where's your son? We haven't heard him laughing for almost a month now. Is everything okay? Because normally if my window's open during summertime, people can hear me laughing down the street. That's how loud I am. So they basically, whenever they hear me laughing, they all start laughing because they're like, oh boy, he's at it again.
So your neighbours are actually kind of cool then.
Yeah, they are.
He cares about you.
Yeah, for the most part, my neighbors are really, really chill. I'm really blessed in that sense that I don't actually have any idiots around me. But I just hate his moped, that's all.
I can understand that, for sure.